Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here with the second half of our 2-hour-long radio program. Second half, that's pretty good, right? Thank you so much. Now, Ariel Sharon, right? Ariel Sharon, a former Prime Minister of Israel, is in the hospital comatose from a stroke. From a stroke? You telling me the Prime Minister of Israel, who arguably, if you were to ask him or his family, they would say, oh, our father had the best doctors in the world, right? The best doctors in the world? Well, no. Your father had perhaps the best MD doctors in the world. But why did he have a stroke? If Sharon was my patient, he wouldn't have gotten a stroke. Why is this? Because if he would have been my patient, he would have been taking essential fatty acid supplementation. Now, the founder of Youngevity, Dr. Joel Wallach, my mentor, colleague, and friend, a licensed naturopathic physician forever, 73 years of age, has sued the Food and Drug Administration on a number of times. One of Dr. Wallach's lawsuits against the Food and Drug Administration allows us to say that supplementing your diet with fish oil supplements, high in omega-3, 6, and 9, especially omega-3, supplementing your diet with omega-3 essential fatty acid fish oil supplements virtually eliminates the risk of stroke. Now, if we had, by the way, in order to get something called a qualified health claim from the Food and Drug Administration, well, here's what a qualified health claim is. Generally, in order to get a drug approved so that you can say legally that, Prilosec is an effective treatment for heartburn, right? Or for anything, to say Advil is an effective treatment for the temporary relief of pain due to muscular aches and pains. In order for you to be able to say that, to make a claim, you have to do anywhere between $60 and $100 million of research. It's a ton of work. And nutritional supplement companies can't nearly come even close to that mark, which is why you don't see any nutritional supplement companies saying that. And if a nutritional supplement company did say that, they did $100 million of research to say that buttercups were, an effective treatment against high blood pressure, then the Food and Drug Administration would label buttercups as a drug and wouldn't allow anybody but drug companies to sell it. Now, how about that? Bet you didn't know that. Bet you didn't even think about that. Bet you thought that anybody could say whatever they wanted to. Well, they can't. Now, because we don't have $100 million to do all this nonsense research, or this good research, just to have the Food and Drug Administration then classify the natural supplement as a drug and take away its production from, the average citizen and jack up the prices on it. What we do instead is something called a qualified health claim. Now, to get a qualified health claim from the Food and Drug Administration, you have to show the FDA a mountain of evidence. You have to show the FDA thousands of published research papers that support what you're attempting to say. So, we're saying that essential fatty acid supplementation virtually eliminates the risk of stroke by keeping the blood clotting mechanism in your body healthy and at its optimal levels. And we didn't do that. Dr. Wallach did that. Brought the FDA thousands of supporting documents, allowing us to be able to say that, holy smokes, if you supplement with fish oil, it virtually eliminates the risk of stroke. And we've got Wallach to thank for that. Wallach, along with Jonathan Emord, the Dragon Slayer corporate lawyer out of Washington, D.C. It was Jonathan Emord that filed these lawsuits against the Food and Drug Administration. It was Dr. Wallach who paid him to do it and who helped him to secure all of them, volumes and volumes of research. So this is the real thing. This is not, a bunch of people with no medical training running around on the internet saying that, buttercups cure cancer. This is a qualified health claim okayed by the Food and Drug Administration. So why didn't Ariel Sharon's doctors know this? Why, that's a good question, isn't it? Are they supposed to be the best physicians in the world? Why didn't they know this? Well, probably the reason that they didn't know this is because they're MDs. And when you are an MD, you are trained not to believe anything other than what you're trained in. And what you're trained in is drugs and surgery all the time. And, by default, through that 12-year meat grinder of an education, you become enculturated, you become brainwashed to believe that if you were not taught it in medical school as a primary treatment, it is not valid. And, of course, what are medical doctors not taught in medical school? Medical nutrition. MDs, if they consider nutrition at all, consider it as secondary or tertiary or quaternary treatments. It's the second, third, or fourth. Probably it's the fourth thing that you do. Well, yeah, everybody needs to eat from the 4 food groups, and that's about as far as they go. When in fact of the matter is, if you do eat from the 4 food groups, you're going to die. But my point here is that, the Prime Minister of Israel, his physicians weren't smart enough to know what we know. And you know how much money that guy had? Or Steve Jobs. Put yourself in Steve Jobs' feet, shoes, or Neil Armstrong, or any of these celebrities that we see dropping like flies. Having money does nothing to protect you from medical closed-mindedness. Having money, actually it works the reverse. Because if you have money, the modern medical society around the world will go after you. They will court you. They'll give you the private wing in the hospital with the corner room with the views and the 24-hour nurse service, and they make sure it's the friendly nurses that go to your room, not the nurse ratchet nurses, right? They will court you. They'll tell you you're going to have the best therapies in the world. They'll give you 24/7 round-the-clock care, but what do they deliver? MD-directed medicine. It doesn't matter, how qualified the MD is. The MD only knows what the MD knows, and the MD doesn't know anything about medical nutrition. So if it didn't work for Steve Jobs, and it didn't work for Ariel Sharon, and it didn't work for Neil Armstrong, and it didn't work for all of these other multimillionaire celebrities, do you think it's going to work for you? Do you think that conventional medicine is going to work for you? No. Wake up and smell the coffee. The reason that everybody is dying in the world is because when they're sick, they go to MDs. Why do they go to MDs? Because MDs monopolize the medical marketplace. Why do MDs monopolize the medical marketplace? Because of coalitions, pharmaceutical coalitions that were built at the turn of the century that everybody's forgotten about. It's drug money. It's drug money. Where's Nancy Reagan when you need her most? Just say no. We have our favorite Floridian calling back with another aspect to his ongoing testimonial. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce back to the listening community Abby, all the way from Miami. Welcome back, Abby. You are live.
Hi, Dr. Glidden. Just wanted last week when I called about the stingray, that was me, so they confused me.
Yeah, I remember.
I just wanted to say what happened after I talked to you. I went that night to the health store, and I got some colloidal silver because I didn't have the chance to order it right away from the annuity. So I got that, and I got the other thing that you prescribed to me. Well, I'll tell you, I've been trying to call from Thursday, and I couldn't get through. I got rid of the swelling and almost everything in like 2 days.
2 days.
2 days, and my swelling was from where the arch on the foot starts.
Yeah. Right,
almost on the toes, all the way up to about 3 inches above the ankle.
Yeah, I mean that can be a nasty thing. I mean, stingray stings are. Imagine a wasp, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine a wasp that's about 3 or 4 pounds, right? Like a giant wasp. I mean, that's kind of what a stingray sting is like. It's a massive amount of venom. It's really just a bad sting. By the way, Abby, remember that guy, Steve Irwin? He had that animal show, and I forget what the name of it was, but he was killed by a stingray stinger. He was snorkeling and was trying to pet the stingray, and the stingray stung him. But when the stingray got him, the barb that the stingray stings people went right into his heart and went right into his chest. And like a knucklehead, he tried to rip it out, And when he ripped it out, of course, he bled to death. So, this is nothing to be messed around with. So it took 48 hours after the homeopathic treatment and the colloidal silver for this to go away. Are there any lingering effects whatsoever?
No, I just still have, because it was forming like a little ulcer on the skin.
Yeah.
Now it's drying out, so I'm just waiting for that to go away. But all the swelling and the pain, it's 100% gone. I mean, I'm walking with no problem at all, and I'm touching around the little wound. It doesn't even hurt. It's perfectly fine. I'm just dry like any other type of wound. I just wanted to point that out to people. It's so cheap, and for some people in my office, they recommended me to go to a doctor and get antibiotics. That would have cost me probably like $200 because I don't have insurance.
Yeah.
And compared to like $20 that I pay for this,
This is it, Abby. I mean, this is it, man. Nobody knows this, right? Nobody knows there do, in fact, exist simple solutions for acute stuff, simple solutions for chronic stuff. And this is why we do what we do. And by the way, if you're in the listening audience and you have a testimonial of any size, shape, or flavor, call us up and talk to us about it. Because remember, we are a large, connected community of the informed, and we like the support, we like the phone calls.
Doctor, I have a question, if I may.
You bet.
Okay. This is about my daughter. She's going to be 2 years old, and she's most of the time, since I remember, she's been kind of stuffed up in the nose. And a couple of people have mentioned to me about the cow's milk. It's really hard for me to get her away from milk because that's, I would say, 90% of what she takes.
All right, hold on. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden here with another live broadcast of Fire Your MD Now. And we had a little bit of technical trouble last week. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your tuning in. And, tell your friends and family members about this. It's a 2-hour live show, and then, of course, the podcast runs in a recorded fashion for 24/7 after the fact. So you can have anybody in your life listen to this whenever it suits them best. And don't forget, tonight's live webinar available to subscription holders on my website, fireyourmdnow.com. It's an introduction to longevity. It starts at 8 o'clock Central, goes until about 8:45, and then we leave 15 minutes more or less for live chat to answer your health care questions. So bring those people in your life who you want to show the benefits of science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition. Bring them to the webinar tonight. Can't wait to do it. It's always a ton of fun. All right, we're talking to Avi from Miami, the testimonial king, and his daughter is having trouble with a stuffed-up nose, and he's wondering if it's related to cow's milk. Is that right, Avi?
Yes.
Well, does she have anything else besides a stuffed-up nose? I mean, how old is she and what's going on?
She's going to be 2 on the 10th next month.
Yeah.
And a little bit of history. She had before, like a year ago, so she had a low immune system, and I know that because she got sick very easily. We were giving her, following her, some formula by Western Price, and it didn't work, and she was always constipated and all that, and we didn't know. We just discovered recently about that. However, when I put her on the longevity supplements, she got a lot better. And I started, instead of giving her the formula for the milk that these people advised, I started giving her kefir. If people don't know that, it's just similar to yogurt.
Yeah.
So all the constipation went away. I just never realized that it was the cause of the constipation was the milk until last week that I ran out of the kefir and I gave her milk again, and then she got constipated again. That's when I realized. And I'm wondering,
is she blood type O? Do you know what her blood type is?
No idea. I will need to try that.
All right. So it's my experience that most people who have a negative reaction to cow's milk, and it can be anything. If you have an allergic reaction or an intolerance to cow's milk or any other food, a number of you can get a psychological condition. For instance, kids who have an intolerance to cow's milk, when they drink it, they'll get a physical symptom, like they'll get constipated, or they'll get stuffed up, or they'll get mucus congestion in their upper respiratory tract. And if they have an allergy to it, when they drink milk, they'll get violent. I mean, they'll throw temper tantrums, they'll slam doors, they'll become like little devil children. Children that have an allergy to wheat tend to get spacey after they eat it, And an allergy to wheat can also cause an eczematous condition. So either way, right, if you've noticed that she's having a negative reaction to cow's milk, then of course you have to eliminate cow's milk from her diet. And the best way to do that with kids, although she's only 2, Abby, so my recommendation would just be tough love. Just eliminate cow's milk from her diet completely and find something that you can substitute for it instead. And in about 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, after all the kicking and screaming and, oh, Daddy, just give me the milk, after that nonsense is over, she'll get used to the new stuff. Usually when kids are this young, it's easy to kind of train them into a new habit, but, the first couple of days or maybe the first couple of weeks are going to be rough. So you just have to make a decision with your wife and stick to it. And whether it's an allergy or whether it's an intolerance, it doesn't really matter, because you already are armed with the knowledge that, son of a gun, this stuff does make a difference. So do your best to but just eliminate it from her diet and see what happens. Does that sound like a plan?
Doctor, the thing is, I tried already, and this is what I did. We tried to give her only goat's milk. We did it for like a month or so, and nothing happened. We tried sheep's milk, which is very, very expensive. We tried that for another month, and nothing happened. So that's why I'm calling. I'm kind of confused.
Well, when it's a good point, and we're kind of it's easy to not see the forest for the trees here. There's nothing magic about milk. The only thing that milk has in it is a little bit of protein and a little bit of cholesterol. If she's supplementing with the Healthy Start Pack appropriate for her body weight, she doesn't need milk. I mean, she doesn't need to have any type of milk whatsoever, as long as she's getting cholesterol from other sources, from kefir, from full-fat yogurt, from butter. So you don't need to worry about it, Abby. It's not like she's missing anything. Just make sure that you have the Healthy Start Pack appropriate for her body weight. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden here in the second hour of Fire Your MD Now. In keeping with my rant, my essential fatty acid rant and stroke rant of a couple minutes ago, Sue is calling in with a question about ultimate essential fatty acids. Welcome aboard, Sue. You are live.
Hi, Dr. Glidden. You initially had helped me with osteoporosis and getting off of my thyroid medicine, which I'm still doing very well with. I continue to take the longevity. I just had gone down to San Diego to pick up my next shipment, and I've been taking the Ultimate EFAs, and I never noticed that it contains soy. Now, what I'm wondering is, does the soy have a negative effect with the thyroid problem, is what I'm wondering about.
No, and this is a great question, Sue, and this means you are today's smartest girl in class. You're really paying attention. This is a very, very good thing. But when it comes to nutritional supplements, or anything for that matter, that you're going to potentially develop a net negative reaction to, like Abby's daughter with milk, right? Or some people they have a shellfish allergy or whatever. It's the quantity. And also the amount of sensitivity that you have to the thing. For instance, there are some people, if they're allergic to cats, they're okay if they're in a room and there's a cat in the room. As long as the cat isn't jumping up on their lap, they're okay. And there's other people that have cat allergies. For goodness sake, they can go into a room and a cat was in there 3 years ago, and they're going to start to react to it because they're really, really super sensitive to it. So the amount of soy that's in the essential fatty acids is a byproduct of a byproduct. It's not a component of the actual ingredients of the stuff. It's in there because this particular product is made in a factory where they make soy. So it could be cross-contamination. It's not direct contamination, and I'm not going to worry about it. However, the only way to know for sure is if you have noticed that you have had a distinct problem with soy in the past, and you take the essential fatty acids, and that problem comes back, well, then you're too sensitive to it. But I don't... Thinking that this EFA supplement, the soy in it, would be enough to precipitate a negative reaction with your thyroid, that would be a real big stretch. So I'm going to tell you, Sue, not to worry about it, that it's a non-starter.
Worry about it, okay. And I have one more question. What should be my maintenance dose on my selenium as far as my thyroid goes?
Well, nobody knows. What's your current body weight?
About 120.
Okay, so what I would do, given your history of thyroid problem, is, the recommendation for selenium is 1 bottle per 50 pounds of body weight per day. Mm-hmm. So you're 120, so I would bump that up to 150. And so my maintenance dose for you would be 3 bottles a month, 3 bottles a month. And I would just continue to do that for the rest of your life because selenium, among other things, now, selenium is very necessary for optimal thyroid function. It's really necessary for optimal thyroid function. Your thyroid needs selenium, it needs copper, and it needs iodine in order to be healthy and to work the way that God intended it to. Well, when you take the selenium, you've got 2 for 1. You've got the selenium and the copper, and that's a good thing. Now, once we've supported and promoted the health of the thyroid, well, that's a good thing, but selenium also is extremely important for recycling your body's own antioxidant glutathione, and this is why selenium is such a potent cancer preventive, right? It reduces the occurrence of breast cancer by 82%, reduces the occurrence of colon cancer by 69%, reduces the occurrence of prostate cancer by 64%, and the occurrence of lung cancer by 32%, even if you're a smoker. So even if your thyroid was 100% healthy, I would recommend that you do 3 bottles of selenium a month just for cancer prevention. So, that's the recommendation. 3 bottles a month, Sue, for the rest of your life. And then you can go to sleep and sleep through the night knowing that you have done just about everything that you can do to reduce your chances significantly of getting breast cancer, lung cancer, or colon cancer. And that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, right?
Excited about this 2-hour show. This is just fantastic. So I've got my sister-in-law on this now. I've got my brother on this. I mean, we're just really going to town here. So, and they listen to you daily. So anyway, we're real excited about that. Thanks for taking my phone call and answering my question.
Well, Sue, anytime. I'm here for you, and thank you. Remember, we are all in this together. And let's remember what Benjamin Franklin said, unless we hang together, we most assuredly will hang alone. Pete's up next with a question about dermatomyositis, which is fancy schmancy doctor talk for you have a problem with your muscle and you have a problem with your skin, but you already knew that. Pete, welcome aboard. You are live.
Hi, Dr. Glidden. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
This is actually for my wife. The Longevity products have done just miracles for me. I had type 2 diabetes. We'll talk about that later, but it's been great. I've dropped 45 pounds, and I feel great, and I don't think anything.
I know, it's remarkable, isn't it? I mean, Pete, let's just take a minute, because we've got about 8 more minutes left in this segment. I mean, this is the thing, man, right? I was talking to a member of, well, I wasn't specifically talking to him, but there's a longevity representative in Missouri. And he's a very wealthy man. He owns a gigantic diagnostic lab in the United States, and he was just like you. He had type 2 diabetes forever. Went on the longevity supplements, and in 6-7 weeks, it's gone, man. It is gone.
Yeah.
And this man was very well connected. He knew the director of Health and Human Services on Obama's cabinet, and he called him up. And they were just talking, about, shooting the crap, hey, how you doing today? What's going on? And he told him his experience with type 2 diabetes recovery. And his buddy in Obama's cabinet said, oh, wait a minute, let me do some numbers. And he did a quick calculation. And he said, look, if everybody in the United States who currently is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes did what you just did, we could eliminate the federal deficit in 1 year. That's how much money we would save in health care costs. I mean, that's how rampant this is. And this is why, Dr. Wallach, in his wisdom, set this company up as a network business, because the MDs have completely let us down. I mean, we have been let down hard, man. And you could have a rewarding, successful, multi-million-dollar longevity business just helping people who have type 2 diabetes. So good for you for taking a stand for people in your community.
Well, thank you. And I am a longevity associate, and I do hope that I get there. And I tell everybody about it. And I'm starting to get a little traction with this. So. All
right. Well, slow and steady wins the race, Pete.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing. So if anyone doesn't believe it works, my doctor now, he couldn't believe it, because when I was diagnosed, and I probably had diabetes for years. I felt terrible, but in July I finally got diagnosed with it, and my HbA1c was 7.5. Of course, at that time he wanted to give me metformin. I said, well, now I want to try diet and exercise and other things, right? I'll see you in 6 months. So I went back in November, and I listened to you and Dr. Wallach and did the program just as you all have recommended. And when I went back on November 4th, my HbA1c was 5.7.
That's supposed to be impossible, by the way.
I understand that. So I can't wait to go back again. So I'm keeping my appointments with them just so I can show them. At that time, I lost 20 pounds. Now I'm down 45 pounds, right, from 240 to 195, and I'm headed to right around 5'8", so I want to get around 270. So, but anyway, let's talk about my wife. Because I'm in good shape now. My wife is still hurting. She's we're both in our 50s, so she's 51. I'm 53. When she was in her 20s, she was diagnosed with dermatomyositis, and they did the muscle biopsy, to confirm it. And of course, back then they did just heavy steroid treatment with it, which she did 18 months of of this poison, right? So it didn't kill her, but it did seem to, after she got over the steroid toxicity, she seemed to go into remission with that. But then she still had problems after that, with the fibromyalgia and some other things that cropped up. But then July of 2011, the dermatomyositis seemed to come back with a vengeance. And she's just been in horrible pain. Once I discovered longevity, through my own health, I started looking into it for her and started her out on doing the pig pack. But she was a bit, her stomach doesn't seem to tolerate the liquid supplements so well. So now I've got her, or she has been doing more of the capsule base, Ultimate Dailies, de-stress. I got her enzymes, selenium.
Well, all right. We have to dial this. I have to dial this in for you, and we've all got 3 minutes left in this segment. So let me tell you what to do and do a little rant on this. In the meanwhile, thank you so much for the call, Pete. I'm going to dial this in right for you now. So here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, right? So dermatomyositis, his wife has this condition 20 years ago. She goes to the MDs. They throw massive amounts of anti-inflammatories at it, which is exactly like painting over the mold that's in the basement. You don't fix the mold, you just paint over it. Oh, look, everything's better, right? Well, not really, but at least it's not half as bad as it used to be. And so time goes by. And the mold is still there, and it's growing in back of the paint, and it grows, 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 and then 20 years later, what do you know? Guess who's coming to dinner? Well, it's the dermatomyositis that the MDs only suppressed. They didn't fix it. And when you suppress an illness with drugs or with any other type of therapeutic, when it comes back, which it must do, by the way, eventually it must come back. It always comes back worse than it was before. It always comes back worse than it was before. That's just the nature of the beast. So, the MDs made it worse. And into the bargain, while this illness was being suppressed, it was whittling away at Pete's wife's health from the inside out, kind of like a cancer, just eating away at stuff, and then all of a sudden, it's back. And what are we going to do? Well, the first, second, and third thing you need to do is fire that medical doctor. Fire your MD. Because, number one, they didn't fix it when 20 years ago when they should have. Number two, they made it worse right now. And in the interim, they didn't do anything to support or promote the health of her body. They just kept their fingers crossed and hoped it wouldn't come back, or quite frankly, hoped that she would move from that county so they wouldn't have to deal with it again. And yet, here it is, and here we are, and what are we going to do? We're going to fire the MD. Because they are the people responsible for your wife's suffering. It's nobody else's fault. Who did you trust to provide your wife with medical care? You trusted the MDs. The MDs let you down hard. If you hired somebody to put a new roof on your house, they put a roof on your house, and then the first rainstorm, there were 100 leaks in that roof, you would not hire that roofer again, would you? Well, that's what we do with MDs all of the time. Their therapeutics hurt us, their therapeutics fail us, and their therapeutics kill us, and we keep going back to them. Ladies and gentlemen, we need our heads examined collectively. We need to snap out of it, smell the coffee, take the essential nutrients, eliminate the 10 bad foods. And when we come back from the hard break here after these messages, I'm going to tell Pete exactly what his wife can do to support and promote the health of her system and get on the other side of this. I am your steadfast advocate for health, Dr. Peter Glidden. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here with the last segment of my show today. So we're talking to Pete about his wife who has dermatomyositis, which is this fancy schmancy doctor talk for this illness that causes inflammation in the skin and in the muscles, and so you have skin and muscle pain, and you spend thousands of dollars to go to the MD, and they tell you that you have skin and muscle pain. They also say we have no idea what causes it, and then they throw symptom-suppressive corticosteroids at it, which mess you up, and then they wash their hands and go to play golf at the exclusive club, or they put a new pool in their house, or they buy a brand new boat, put it on the lake, put it on the ocean, drink their gin and tonics, and feel good about themselves into the bargain. Well, look, this is nonsense. So, from our point of view, dermatomyositis is caused by a facultative breakdown in the skin and the muscle. And if you look at it from a physiological point of view, it's interesting because the skin, the tendons, the ligaments, and the muscles are all the same tissue, just different densities of the same tissue. So what's good for the goose in this case is, in fact, good for the gander. What we do when someone presents with an illness like this is we support and promote the health of their skin, and we do that with the Healthy Start Pack, selenium, and glucogel appropriate for body weight. But wait a minute, Pete says, my wife can't handle the liquid supplements. Yeah, I know. Guess why? The only time that somebody can't handle the longevity liquid supplements is not because of the liquid supplements. It's because their digestive tract has been compromised by decades of eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats. So the problem here is not the supplements, it's the ability of the intestinal tract to absorb them. So, number one, Pete, what your wife needs to do, 30 years ago, was stop eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats. Well, we can't go back in time, but she can certainly start that today. I don't even want her to say the word gluten, all right? 0 tolerance for gluten from this day moving forward. This is the root cause of everything from our point of view. Gluten consumption messes up the tissue in the intestinal tract that absorbs nutrients. All chronic health conditions are rooted in malnutrition of one sort or the other. So by eating gluten consistently, you're going to exaggerate and exacerbate any chronic health condition that you have, and she has a muscle and a skin condition. So no gluten from now on forever. And I want you to calculate the dosage, the correct dosage of the liquid supplement. So let's say she's 150 pounds. And she needs to do 1 scoop of the Beyond Tangy Tangerine 3 times a day. Well, you tried that in the past. You gave her diarrhea or some type of stomach upset. So instead of giving her 1 scoop 3 times a day, give her half a scoop 6 times a day. Or give her a quarter of a scoop 12 times a day. How about that? Mess around with a diluted dosage schedule. Find a dose that she can tolerate, and then just repeat that over the day until you get to her preferred dosage, whatever it is for her body weight. And that's how you have to do it. You're going to have to really kind of ease into this one, baby. Ease into this one. And the same with the white liquid calcium. If the full dose for her body weight causes trouble, let's say she needs 1 ounce twice a day. Well, give her half an ounce 4 times a day, or 1/8 of an ounce 8 times a day. How about that? Dilute it, dilute it, dilute it. Drink it more slowly, no gluten. And this is our recipe for health. And if you do this, every 3-4 weeks, you'll be able to give her a little bit more of a concentrated dose because the digestive tract will bounce back. This is how you do it, man. The most important supplement for her is the 90 essential nutrients plus selenium. I don't care how much she weighs. My recommendation would be 4 bottles of selenium a month. That's 4 capsules of selenium 3 times a day. 4 with breakfast, 4 with lunch, 4 with dinner. Try that on for size and see how it works. Ladies and gentlemen, you've wasted another perfectly 2 good hours listening to Dr. Glidden. Thank you so much. Let's give a shout out to our guests today, James, Karen, Abby, Sue, and Pete. Thanks for calling, everybody. It's all about you guys. It's not about me. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the work that you're doing. Remember, we are a coalition of the informed. We are on the move to help eliminate human suffering through science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition. I am Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in.